Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great because there's been some rumors recently. Now I have to specify these are not confirmed as fact, but there have been rumors recently circulating that Hi-Fi Rush could be coming to the Switch and possibly PlayStation, and Sea of Thieves could also potentially be coming to PlayStation. Now if you guys have been watching the channel for a while now, you would know that I think this is a great thing, especially in the case of Sea of Thieves, because online games need to have the biggest reach possible, and if it comes to PlayStation and potentially the Switch, will probably have to be like a cloud version. But if it does go to the other platforms, that's even more people to play with, and it'll keep the game alive longer. And while Hi-Fi Rush doesn't need a huge player base or anything because it is a single player game, it's still great that it could be going to other platforms. I had a blast with it. I'm going back through and playing it now just because I've had a hankering to do so. And the fact that people won't have to buy an Xbox or a PC just to play this game is great. However, not everybody feels that way, and today we're going to be looking at an article that covers this subject. Now, the article itself isn't all bad. It's only like the second half where it starts to get like, are you serious right now? This is honestly your take on it as the consumer. However, the article also mentions several people who are not happy with this move, and so we can take a look at what those people had to say as well. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank Sega for sponsoring this video. Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth is the latest game in the Yakuza series. So, what do you need to know about it? First off, the story. Perhaps by fate or something much more sinister, two larger-than-life heroes have been brought together to team up and explore Japan and Hawaii. These two men are Ichiban Kasuga, an unstoppable underdog orphaned at birth who's no stranger to crawling up from rock bottom, and Kazuma Kiryu, a broken man facing down his last days as he battles cancer and comes to terms with the meaning of his life. Alright, now that you've got the basics of the story, what do you need to know about the actual gameplay? The combat in this game is fast-paced and one of a kind. The battlefield in this game is your weapon and anything goes. Use it to your advantage to take down your enemies with the most over-the-top moves possible. And now that you've heard about the game from me, I'd like you guys to see the trailer, so please enjoy.
Welcome to paradise.
Aloha! All right!
I can show you around now, but there's a few things you need to learn before we have a good time. You can have a little fun with some friends. And even pick up a new skill. Whatever you do, be careful. Even paradise can have its secrets.
You trying to tell me there are Yakuza in Hawaii?
Not exactly something you'd find in a guidebook, is it?
Keep your friends close. And your enemies closer.
Name's Dwight.
Nice to meet you.
Take cover!
Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth launches January 26th on PlayStation, Xbox, Windows, and Steam. If you pre-order now, you can get the Heroes Booster Pack and the Special Job Set, but you gotta do it before it's too late. And if you want more info, go to infinitewealth.sega.com. Again, thank you so much to Sega for sponsoring this video, and now let's get right into the salt. Alrighty, so this article was written by Paul Tassi. Now, if you're like me and you recognize that name, but you don't remember why you recognized it, Gara and Spec have informed me that he's a Destiny 2 fanboy on Twitter, but apparently he's also a senior contributor to Forbes. Unfortunately, just because you're in a high position doesn't mean you can't take an L, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So anyway, this article is called Xbox Fans Grow Concerned Hi-Fi Rush May End Up on the Nintendo Switch. Now, right off the bat, this is already wrong. There are fans of Xbox out there, no doubt, who are concerned about this for some reason, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but these are a small minority, and we call them fanboys. Honestly, this reminds me of that one time the Red Dragon took that screenshot of that Reddit post and put it on Twitter, which was basically one guy saying that he wasn't gonna play Baldur's Gate 3 unless it came to Game Pass. And then he captioned the tweet by saying Xbox fans already declaring they're not gonna buy the game, to try to make all Xbox fans look bad. Now, do I think Paul Tassi here was trying to make all Xbox fans look bad intentionally? No, I don't think that. It was either just just bad wording, or maybe he was misinformed. Perhaps he assumed that most Xbox fans were reacting this way when it is not in fact true. And it doesn't really help his case that the only examples he has were two different Xbox creators saying that they didn't like this move. I definitely think a better title would have been Some Xbox Fans Grow Concerned. But either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the article now. Xbox had a bit of an odd 2023, with its hugely anticipated mega hit Starfield not exactly setting the world on fire, the way we've seen with most past Bethesda games. Despite a high player count, it got good, not great reviews and was shut out at the Game Awards, when normally a mainline Bethesda title might be a frontrunner for Game of the Year. Well, this is just not true. Starfield definitely did set the world on fire, just not quite in the same ways that their other games did. Starfield, more so than anything, set the world on fire with controversy and arguments, but I do understand what he means. It just wasn't the smash hit that a lot of other games have been. Although I cannot lie, the controversies that came out of this game did make me want to smash my head against a wall.
Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
Either way, though, let's continue on. But enter Hi-Fi Rush. The stealth dropped music-based platformer was one of the most unique and innovative games of the year. It was universally accepted as a pretty huge win for Xbox, but now one that fans are concerned may be diluted, whatever, however you say that. Now, that's a very interesting choice of words there, diluted, or diluted, however you pronounce it. Whatever, I don't care. Interesting word choice because diluted means to become less concentrated and make something weaker. Now, would Hi-Fi Rush going to another platform make the game less concentrated? In the sense that, oh, it won't just be on 2 platforms, it would be on 3 now? Yes. But that's absolutely not a bad thing. And would it make the game weaker by going to another platform? No, it could only make the game stronger, if anything. Now, what exactly does weaker or stronger mean in this situation? Not really sure. I guess I would have to say, like, more sales. And the Switch is a great place to bring the game to get more sales because the console sold, what, over 100 million units? Actually, excuse me, it looks like 130 million now. Something tells me at least a few of those 130 million people might be interested in getting the game. Either way, though, let's continue. Insiders Nate the Hate and, hold on, Loli Lolilo. Am I saying that right? I hope so, whatever. Both with solid track records, had 2 different takes on the same rumor, that Hi-Fi Rush would be heading to Nintendo Switch. Windows Central then reported that Microsoft had been exploring bringing some of its back catalog to other platforms, though the details are murky. Well, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Microsoft has already done this before. I think the first example that comes to mind is Ori, and then obviously you have Minecraft with its multiple spin-offs, which, I mean, I think after Legends, it's very clear that Mojang just needs to focus on Minecraft itself. Legends already is going to stop receiving support after less than a year. And then the other game I can think of that immediately comes to mind is The Outer Worlds. And I know somebody's probably thinking it, so I'm just gonna say it. Cuphead does not count. It was an amazing game, but ultimately it was a third-party exclusivity deal. Microsoft may have paid to have it exclusive, but that doesn't make it first-party. Alright, so far not terrible. Notice how I said so far, because it's about to get a lot worse. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next paragraph. The problem that some of the biggest Xbox fans see is that by taking a clear win like Hi-Fi Rush and giving it to Nintendo Switch to share, it's damaging Xbox's slow march to proving it can produce exceptional first-party exclusives, creating a worthwhile investment in either an Xbox console or the Game Pass ecosystem. Okay, so I have to know, how is this damaging Xbox's march to proving it can produce exceptional first-party exclusives? I mean, technically Xbox hasn't had a first-party exclusive in what, at least 4 or 5 years? Because they've been going day and date to PC for a while. And plus, this argument implies that by bringing the game to the Switch, it's going to become worse. Like, that just doesn't even make any sense. Plus, there's still a reason to get Hi-Fi Rush on an Xbox instead of the Switch. And one of the reasons is what you just highlighted. Game Pass. There's no Game Pass on the Switch. Plus, if the game does come to the Switch, it's going to look and run worse than the Xbox versions. And even putting that aside, why would you, as the consumer, not want games to be on other platforms? Like, why do you care if Xbox has, oh, you know, a quality first-party exclusive exclusive that can only be on their platform. As long as they're making good games, why is it a problem for you as the consumer that other people on other platforms might be able to play them? You still get to play the games, and the games do not become worse because they go to another platform. This has been the argument for such a long time, and it doesn't make any sense to me still. I'm not saying that as a consumer you should be making this push like, oh yes, every game should be on every platform, I demand this now. But what I am saying is that you shouldn't have a problem with that being the case. And if you do, then all I have to say is this.
Weird, buddy. You're weird.
Anyway, let's continue. Here's high-profile Xbox creator, what is that, Clubrill? I don't, whatever. I need to stop trying to pronounce things today. A brand, an investment, an ecosystem is defined by its games, by its library. And the moment you bring experiences to competitors, you'll give up a bit of that identity, potentially piece by piece. You'll actively take away value, reasons to get into the ecosystem in the first place. From here it snowballs. Your ecosystem potentially shrinks. Your ecosystem potentially receives less third-party support, and suddenly you, as an Xbox gamer, are directly affected by these decisions. Okay, this makes no sense whatsoever. Why would Microsoft putting their games on the Switch mean that the Xbox gets less third-party support? How are those two things connected in any way? Also, Xbox bringing their games to a competitor's platform is not losing their identity. If Xbox's games started to change over time and not be what they once were, for example, Halo for a while, then that would be them losing their identity. But them bringing games to the Switch is not them losing their identity, because guess what? It's the same game and it's still made by them. And what really blows my mind is the fact that he said your ecosystem potentially shrinks. If by ecosystem you mean console hardware, then yes, maybe you have a point. But if you're talking the Xbox brand as a whole, putting the games on other platforms would only allow those games to sell more copies and thus grow the ecosystem. Who was it? Was it Luke Skywalker? Who was the character who said, amazing, every word of what you just said was wrong? That quote is shockingly applicable here. And that wasn't even the end of the quote, by the way. That was most of it, and then there's this separate little section just below that. So let's go ahead and read that real quick. If you try to serve everyone, you will end up serving no one. It's a bit dramatic, perhaps, given that this is just one game and one rumor. But if it does happen, or if Xbox starts doing this kind of thing more often with its back catalog, you can see how aspects of this could prove true. Now, the whole idea of if you try to serve everyone, you'll end up serving no one, I feel like that does definitely exist, but not in this situation. An example of this would be like Halo trying to branch out and grab the Call of Duty crowd by changing the core gameplay in 4 and 5. Or it could be something where a game decides that, hey, we gotta be super inclusive and diverse, so let's focus on that instead of actually making the game good. And then they just hope that people will buy the game because, holy crap, there's gay people in this game. I'm being represented. I want to buy this. And then the game ends up doing terribly because of it. So yes, there definitely are examples of, oh, you try to cater to everybody, you're gonna end up catering to nobody. But that is not applicable here. I mean, by this logic, multi-plat games just should not exist at all. Because, oh, you're trying to serve everyone and therefore you're going to end up serving no one. No, that's not true at all. Putting games on more platforms just means it can get out to more people. I cannot honestly think of a reason a game would get worse because it's on more platforms. Like, did God of War or Spider-Man take a dip in quality because they came to PC? Would they take a dip in quality if they came to Xbox? No, it's just that more people would be able to play them. This argument could work, but it would have to be in the context of the game itself or the story or whatever trying to cater to everybody, and not, oh, this game's gonna be on another platform. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next paragraph. The counter argument is, well, more people get to play Hi-Fi Rush. That's good. But flipping that coin, no one can reasonably believe Nintendo would reciprocate and start giving their own exclusives to Xbox. Of course, it would be great if more people got to play Tears of the Kingdom if it was suddenly on Xbox and PlayStation, but obviously that's not going to happen. happens. So why should Xbox be handing over one of its highest profile successes to Nintendo like this? Well, the answer is simple and it's a single word: money. This isn't a game of, oh, okay, you gave me this, so now I have to give you this. This is a game of, hey, we want to make the most money possible, and if we want to sell more copies of this game, we have to go beyond our own ecosystem and put the games on our competitors' platforms. Nintendo doesn't need to put a game like Tears of the Kingdom on Xbox or PlayStation. Would it get them more sales? Absolutely. But Nintendo's games sell so well to the point where they're content as it is, and they don't see a need to put their games on other platforms. Plus, if Nintendo started putting their games on other platforms, people just wouldn't buy their hardware, and obviously Nintendo wants people to buy their hardware. So yeah, but then when you look at Microsoft, especially with a game like Ori or Hi-Fi Rush, these are smaller games that are not necessarily system sellers, and by the time they go to other platforms, they've already been on Xbox and PC only for like at least a year. So Microsoft is quite literally losing nothing at this point by putting Hi-Fi Rush on another platform. Maybe you can make this argument if they went day and date on the Switch, but even then, why does that matter to you? You should just be worried about whether or not you're getting good games. You shouldn't be worried about whether or not other people get those good games at some later point. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap up this article now. Another good quote is from another dedicated Xbox poster, xCloud Tim Dog. Notice how Paul Tassi keeps calling them dedicated Xbox guys. It's almost like there's a reason these are the only two guys who have a problem with it. Well, these aren't the only two guys, but that's a topic for another video. Xbox is at the point where only they can mess this up, and yes, here we are. I tell you this, if games like Starfield go to PS5, even I will haul ass out of here. Ah, yes, the classic, oh, if this company starts putting exclusives on other platforms, I'm leaving. I'm pretty sure Crap Gamer said this at one point, only to go back on it once it actually happened. History has a funny way of repeating itself. Let me tell you, it takes a lot for these guys to start criticizing Microsoft and Xbox to this degree, and I do see their point. The extra sales you get from Hi-Fi Rush on the Switch and the awareness of the series for a potential sequel is not going to be worth the perception that Xbox exclusives can suddenly just be not that. In a way that we never see from PlayStation and Nintendo, Microsoft has talked about getting their games on all the platforms they can, but in practice, with something like this, you are getting into strange, potentially damaging territory. We'll see how the rumor does or does not pan out. Ah yes, the potentially damaging territory of making more money off a game that's already a year old. And to claim that the extra sales and awareness for the game won't be worth the perception of Xbox exclusives suddenly not being exclusive, like, that's such a dumb thing to say. You're acting like every Xbox fan out there thinks like these two guys do. You're acting like everybody's gonna say, oh, well, Hi-Fi Rush is going to the Switch a year after launch. I'm done with Xbox. I can't take this anymore, man. They don't have true exclusives, even though they haven't since at least 2019. I'm out of here, man. I can't handle this. Or as Wings of Redemption would say,
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
But yeah, with all that being said, that is going to conclude the article. Lots of bad takes in there, not just from Paul Tassi himself, but also from people who he was grabbing quotes from. Though not really a surprise since they're Xbox content creators, but either way. With all that being said, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you all next time.